Hey everyone, what's going on? James here, otherwise known as Stormwind79 or Stormwind. Usually I don't introduce myself, but today's video is an exception because I would just like to mention that recently I surpassed 300 subscribers. So I'd just like to say to everyone, to each and every one of you who has subscribed and or watched, I really appreciate it. It's because of you that happened. So thank you for taking the time to watch my videos and listen to my ramblings. I really appreciate it, and that's what keeps me going. So really, since I came back from overseas, it's been about 25 new subscribers, and a lot of them really recently, so thanks very much, and hope you continue to watch. Alright, so in today's video, I'm continuing with my existing CD collection, just going down the alphabet to keep that going, and I'm going to talk about an artist which needs no introduction. Well, an artist or a band and a personality behind that. So the band, of course, being DIO. That's where I'm up to in the collection. So the band formed and fronted by legendary vocalist Ronnie James Dio, rest in peace. You know, I don't think I can say anything that hasn't already been said, like a legend in heavy metal, a vocal hero who performed with many famous bands like Ronnie James Dio and the Elves. Was that what it was called? Rainbow, Black Sabbath, and then of course his own band Dio. So he was a legend, his legacy lives on, and I'm not going to do a long speech about that, but I just really admire him as a performer and a singer, and he had a great impact on me when I first discovered him. So that's what we're going to talk about today, 5 Dio albums. I'm not going to do a ranking discographies because I don't own all of his albums, or their albums I should say, because it's not a solo project. He always was adamant about that. But yeah, 5 albums in my collection, and I'm just going to talk about how I feel about these albums. So we'll get straight into it. So what better place to start than the debut album? This is Dio with Holy Diver. So once again, there's nothing that I can say that probably hasn't been said already. It's just a legendary classic heavy metal album. A few months ago I watched Scott Waters, maybe it was a few months or a year ago, something like that. Scott Waters did his top 10 heavy metal albums of all time, and this was included in that list. I agreed with that list, like 6 or 7 of the choices. Like I just thought, yeah, they're perfect. This is definitely one of them. I think this is in the top 10 heavy metal albums of all time. Just absolutely brilliant. So this was the debut album, which was made after Ronnie had left or been booted out of Black Sabbath, as he explains. But yeah, came back with this album, absolutely brilliant. So you can see here, this is remastered with a 16-page booklet. I'll show you that in a minute. They've got an essay and a Ronnie James Dio interview. We'll get into those contents a bit later. But yeah, this album consists of 8 tracks, traditional heavy metal, but at the same time, brilliant musicianship from Jimmy Bain, and Viv Campbell was the guitarist, so Jimmy Bain on bass, and Vinny Appice, I think, on drums. And yeah, of course, as I've mentioned, Ronnie is a vocal hero, like just unique lyrics, a unique style of singing, which is very powerful. Basically, you just go and listen to this album to get to know it a bit more. If you're not familiar, what rock have you been hiding under? But yeah, so this album came out in 1983, and it was really just an instant classic. Like these 8 tracks here, probably most famous for the title track, Holy Diver, which is a great riff in that song, really epic. But like every song on this is a highlight to me. So it's just like 8 out of 8, 10 out of 10, whatever you want to say. Stand Up and Shout is fast and energetic. I often play that song to start a busy day or just to instill myself with some energy. Great riff in that, it's fast and frantic. Yeah, Holy Diver, as I mentioned, is epic. Gypsy is a bit more rock and roll, and as Ronnie explained, it's kind of sort of a bit Stones-ish in a way, but sort of like he was trying to make the album diverse. They were, and it's a fantastic song. Caught in the Middle is a brilliant song, and just some brilliant vocal exhortations from Ronnie. You know, when he does that oh bit, like that really encapsulates how much of a brilliant singer he is, in my opinion. Don't Talk to Strangers, really slow and eerie and atmospheric, and some fantastic lyrics. On the topic of Ronnie James Dio's lyrics, what's interesting about them is they kind of paint pictures in your mind, and often he's referring to something, but it's metaphorical, and you're not exactly sure what he's talking about. But he explained in interviews that that's what he likes to do, like leave it up to the interpretation of the listener. So you get these metaphorical lyrics which are really up to your own interpretation, and they could have several different meanings. Really cool. So that's like, and often those lyrics are sort of bits of life advice or just morals, which are common sense to anyone, but then they're interspersed with fantasy, which is like not more evident than on that song Don't Talk to Strangers. It's fantastic. Straight Through the Heart is like a hard, heavy song, great riff in that, and chunky driving riff, brilliant vocals. Invisible, so catchy, easy to sing along to. Rainbow in the Dark was the song that Ronnie hated at first. In the spoken word, he explains that after that song was made, he took a razor blade to it and wanted to just destroy that song because he felt it was too poppy. But then the rest of the band said, no, don't do that. And then he actually acknowledged later on he was happy that they stopped him because it's a brilliant song. You know, it's a lot of keyboards, it's very poppy and catchy, but I don't care what anyone says, I love that song. So Rainbow in the Dark, great catchy song. And then it finishes with Shame on the Night, which is a kind of introspective, reflective song. Maybe not quite as strong as the other tracks, but still a very good song. And again, it's something I relate to my life. Like, you know, on a Sunday evening before work starts, I always think of that Shame on the Night. And as Ronnie explained, that's what he was talking about. Night is when you think about your problems because you can't go outside for a walk or something. You're lying in bed awake if you can't sleep. And that's when everything comes down on you. So yeah, you can relate it a lot to your life, I think. But yeah, brilliant cover art, classic album. And just look at this booklet. It's just extensive, going into all of the history of the band, talking about the formation of the band and the album, its critical reception, photos of band members, and there's even an essay in there. And as I have not mentioned yet, actually, yeah, it's also got some spoken word tracks. So an interview with Ronnie James Dio talking about the formation of this band, how it came to be, and a track-by-track breakdown, like explaining how the songs were written, going into the significance of the lyrics, the background, so really interesting. For me, the other day, I was going on a walk and I got lost in the jungle, which was quite frustrating, not life-threatening or anything, but at the time I was listening to Ronnie's spoken word interview and it was entertaining and amusing because he's very articulate and lucid, and he also has this soothing voice, and he's quite funny at times as well. So like I really enjoyed listening to those spoken word tracks. But absolute classic album. If you have not checked this out, do so, because it's mandatory, it's essential, in the top 10 heavy metal albums of all time in my opinion. So that's Dio with Holy Diver. Okay, the next album I'm going to talk about, this is the sophomore album, or the second album, The Last in Line. So this came out straight after Holy Diver. And yeah, I think it was pretty much the same lineup, and without oversimplifying things, it's kind of more of the same thing, except maybe this one, it's not quite as epic, it's more of a general rock direction, but very much in sync, I think, with the first album. So if you enjoyed Holy Diver, you will definitely enjoy this one. Speaking for myself anyway, I certainly did. This one, it's got a kind of raw production, which is a bit dirty and gritty, but that kind of suits the nature of the music, in my opinion. Like, again, just fantastic musicians on this album, same lineup, but great riffs, memorable choruses, catchy songs. They're all brilliant, and like, again, a variety of tempos. So Ronnie does all, like, he's the sole vocalist, but he wrote all the melodies and everything, but it just, the interplay between that and the music is so good. And this is another album where there's no, like I said, Holy Diver is a perfect 10 out of 10 album. This is a brilliant album too. I'll just show you. This is the disc, quite boring really. By the way, the Holy Diver one is blue. I think I forgot to show that. Yep. Very sort of 80s booklet. But really cool cover art, as with the debut. So some of my favorite songs on this, as I said, there's no bad songs. It starts with the very energetic track We Rock, which is a good intro. The Last in Line is a bit more epic, some like a slow chugging riff in that, some keyboards as well. And keyboards have never been absent from Dio, and they really add to the atmosphere, which I like that. Breathless is a good song. For me, the first real standout track on this album is I Speed at Night, just fast and frantic. Great vocals, brilliant chorus, and like brilliant driving riff in that song. Now, my absolute favorite song on this album, and one of my favorite Dio songs of all time, if not my favorite, is One Night in the City. Like, just great driving riff in the verse part of that song, but then the chorus, the interplay with the keyboards, it's so atmospheric, and just those lyrics where he says, do you watch, do you see, do you know the people in me, I'm the bite, I'm the bark, I'm the scream. May not sound so convincing when I say it, but listen to that song, especially with the way he sings Scream. It makes my hairs, you know, the hairs on my arms stand up on end when I listen to that song. Absolutely brilliant. So One Night in the City, fantastic. Evil Eyes is a good song again. Like, all of these choruses, they're just so easy to sing along to, and that was what was ingenious about Ronnie's melodies and his his lyrical style as well. Mystery is a great song, again, great catchy sing-along chorus, and it's quite funny. This, I think, illustrates the power of music, but whenever someone says it's a mystery, or they refer to something as a mystery, I always think of the chorus of this song. You know, it's always a mystery, just like you and me. That sort of illustrates the power of music, I think, when you can relate everyday words to a particular song, or sometimes I do it with movies as well. Yeah, Eat Your Heart Out is a good track as well. Oh, like the riff in that, dun, 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 dun. Oh, so good. And then closes with a brilliant atmospheric track, which is Egypt, The Chains Are On. Oh, just words can't sufficiently describe how good that song is. Just so epic and yearning with the vocal melodies. Great driving riff again, and then the slow, somber, melancholic part in that song, which sounds a bit psychedelic, and then it goes back to that chorus and just fades out. It is so good. So yeah, as you can imagine, I like this album based on that description. But yeah, like I said, there's a few tracks which I wouldn't say are like total standout ones, but they're all, that's the thing with Dio, all songs are at the very least good. So like, you're going to enjoy it. But yeah, my favorite tracks, just to backtrack, I Speed at Night, One Night in the City, Mystery, and Egypt, The Chains Are On. But brilliant sophomore album from Dio. That's the last in line. Check it out if you haven't. All right. So the next one in the chronology. Up next is Dream Evil. So I think this was the third album. I didn't really extensively research the chronology. Another good album from Dio. Again, kind of 80s boring disc layout. But this is how things were in the 80s, generally speaking. Picture of the band there, and they added a full-time keyboardist. That's cool. Ronnie's small in the middle, and then the taller members spread out. But yeah, cool cover art on this one. Now this is a good album. Again, the only complaint I have with this album, and it's a minor one, like I'm a problematic person, but is just the production. The production sounds a bit quiet. You know those albums where you just think, oh, it's a bit soft, the overall sound, but I guess that's what the volume button and the bass button were invented for. You can just crank those up to hear this properly. The musicianship though is fantastic. Like, again, it's just that classic Dio formula. Like, they never really strayed from that formula, so you know what you're going to get if you're a fan of this music. Like, it starts with Night People, which is a good song. Dream Evil, the title track, is fantastic, and again, that cover art is pretty cool. Sunset Superman is, for me, probably the catchiest song on the album. I remember when I read that title, I thought, oh, that's kind of weird, but just listen to that song. Even if it may sound silly to some people, I guarantee you'll be singing along, especially with the backing vocals at the end, where Ronnie's doing the backing vocals as well. It's just so incredibly catchy, so that's brilliant. And yeah, I was thinking until a few days ago, there are some songs which I didn't grab me so much, but they're actually all pretty good. Like All the Fools Sailed Away, that's more of a slower atmospheric one. Over Love is a very good song. Naked in the Rain. Yeah, I couldn't complain about any of the songs on this album. When a Woman Cries is fantastic. Like, it's sort of, that's what I like about making these videos. When you go back to your existing collection, you often revisit something that you haven't listened to in a long time and learn to appreciate it more. So yeah, I just cranked this album up the other day, and I thought, actually, despite the production, it's a very good album. And yeah, just solid. As you can probably tell from my description, I don't like it quite as much as the previous two albums, but you know, it's still a very good album. As I've said, like with Dio, the music is at the least very good. So yeah, a good solid album. And if you're a fan of Dio and haven't heard this one, definitely check it out. I always find like at least half of the songs on all of their albums are worth checking out and more than good. So yeah, another strong, solid album from Dio. My favorite tracks on this, just to backtrack once again, Night People, Dream Evil, Sunset Superman, Over Love, and When a Woman Cries. So Dio with Dream Evil. Okay, now I don't have all of the albums in the chronology, so like I might be skipping some years here, but the next one I actually have. This one's Lock Up the Wolves, which came out in 1990. Yeah, and I got this second hand over here, so it's a little bit disheveled and there could be some pages missing. Is this one of the ones where the booklets are... Oh no, it's intact. Okay, so cool cover art first of all, and I think some of these pages may be missing. Yeah. You got some lyrics there and the other members of the band. So with this album, they recruited Rowan Robertson on guitars, and apparently he was only 18 when this album was recorded, which is incredible because the guitar playing is phenomenal. This is an album, when I first bought it, I thought, yeah, it's okay, it's pretty good, but it's really grown on me a lot. I think it's fantastic. Like, remember I complained about the production on Dream Evil. This one, it's much heavier, more solid production. You can hear the bass really well. It's fantastic. And again, there's those atmospheric parts using the keyboards and everything. I would say this is one of my favorites, actually. Like, next to those first two that I mentioned, this would probably be my third favorite Dio album of the ones I've heard. Like, let's see here. Yeah, so Wild One, a typical fast Dio opening track, which is great. Hey Angel, it's a really good song. Oh, sorry, and track 2, Born of the Sun. That is so atmospheric, especially with the keyboards and that sort of chanted melody at the end, like the I'm not going to sing because I can't. But yeah, that is a really good song, and it's just so catchy with that melody. Like, this band is always infectious with melodies. Between Two Hearts, very catchy chorus in that, and again, you get some snippets of Dio's interesting lyrics, like, I think, is that the song where it says another way to spend a rainy Sunday? But it's these kind of words which stick in your head. And also on that song, they have that line which I always sing along to. I don't even know what the hell it means, but where he says, here comes the cameraman, do you look as good as your sister? Don't know the context of it, but like, it's just showing you the power of lyrics, I think. So I really like that song. Night Music is good. Yeah, I mean, all of the tracks on here are great. Lock Up the Wolves is good. Evil on Queen Street doesn't grab me so much. That sort of becomes a little bit backgroundy for me. Walk on Water is another typically fast Dio track. Twisted, though, that's probably my favorite song on the album. Just a chunky driving riff in that, and amazing vocals. So yeah, that's one I always crank up and sing along to. Twisted is a brilliant track. And then last two tracks, Why Are They Watching Me and My Eyes, they are good. But yeah, overall, another great album. Really good production on this one, and it makes up for the lack of production on Dream Evil, dare I say it. But yeah, so my favorite songs on this in terms of catchiness and melody would be Born of the Sun, Between Two Hearts, and Twisted. Yeah, but another great album by Dio. So that's Lock Up the Wolves from 1990. All right, and just one more Dio album which I have in my collection. So this one is Master of the Moon, and this one came out in early 2000s, I think. And that's the funny thing, with this band, even with the latter day albums, they were still really good, so they never waned in terms of quality, which is interesting. Shows the sign of true talent. I bought this one secondhand over here, so you can see the book is all falling apart. But let's just get this centered. So first of all, brilliant artwork. I used to have the t-shirt of this, but it got too small. Well, not too small, but it just shrank a bit in the wash, so yeah, I donated it. But brilliant album. The production on this is fantastic. Very heavy guitars. You can hear the bass. Just really catchy, memorable songs once again. And I love it. Like the opening track, One More for the Road, it just opens with sheer power and velocity. So it's showing maybe these guys were getting older at the time, but they didn't let it show in the music. There's still no holding back. Master of the Moon, the title track, is a good one as well. The only thing is, again, like with some of these tracks, they don't stand out as much. They're a bit more background to me, but as I've said before, with Dio, like, at the very least, the songs are still good. But let's talk about some of my favorites, like the track Shivers. That gives me the shivers, that song. It's so good, like, very memorable vocal melody, and the chorus is incredibly catchy. And the bridge at the end of that song, again, that's like an eargasm to me. It makes the hairs on my arms stand up on end. So good, yeah. So that's just showing Ronnie's vocal talent again on that song. And then he's got those more sort of atmospheric, introspective ones, like The Man Who Would Be King. But some ones which really stood out to me the other day, and I had never properly acknowledged them. I have to say, I Am, that's the name of the song, I Am, like such a catchy chorus, like, I'm not going to sing because I'm shit at it, but take my word for it, just go and listen to that song. I Am, so catchy, brilliant riffing and vocals in that. And also Death by Love, that's another one that's I've learned to appreciate of late. So again, another brilliant album. Now this is a bit disjointed, but nice layout of the lyrics. The booklet, this one's a bit disheveled. And let's just see the lineup of this band. It had some famous people, I think Jeff Pilson. Here we go. So Ronnie on vocals, of course, Craig Goldie on guitar and keyboards, Simon Wright on drums, who used to play for AC/DC on the Fly on the Wall album, Jeff Pilson, who was the bassist of Dokken, he's on bass, and Scott Warren on keyboards. So Ronnie always put together brilliant musicians for his albums, and this was no exception. You can hear it in the music and you can hear it in the production. So I know a lot of people, these can be purists and say, oh, I only like the classic albums from the 80s. Yeah, fair enough, they are good, but sometimes you just got to check out the later albums and realize that they're still quality, and this is definitely the case. So DIO with Master of the Moon. All right, and that's it for today's video. So again, I'm just doing these existing collection videos for now to keep the channel going, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do next, but you know, we'll see if threads come up, something like that. But as always, if there's something that you'd like to see, or you have a theme or something you'd like me to show, just let me know in the comments. I always appreciate the feedback. Once again, guys, thank you very much for all of your support, and for the new subscribers, everyone who's subscribed to this channel and watched. It's just hard to believe that it got to 300, but as I said, that's not because of me, it's because of you tolerating my ramblings and watching, and I'm over the moon about it. Master of the Moon, maybe that's in my mind, but yeah, it's fantastic. So really, really appreciate it, and I hope you continue to watch. Thanks a lot for your support, honestly. All right, so I'll be back again next week. I'm trying to do one of these at a time, and we'll see what comes in the next video. Maybe existing CD collection, maybe I'll do some vinyl. Let's find out later on. All right, so in the meantime, guys, take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.